All right, welcome to our special community training for security awareness managers. My name is Ayelet Penrod. That is, I yell it as I yell it, I don't whisper it. And we are doing this special series, three-part series, to help you reframe how to think about LinkedIn and to add it as part of your security awareness toolbox. So let's get started. Last month, we actually talked about, kind of the networking basics and professional branding. And we just went into a little bit more about why professional branding is important as security awareness professionals when using LinkedIn. And basically, it's to help elevate the message, right? And to give you a voice. LinkedIn is a great platform to allow you to put forth those ideas in a non threatening way and to connect with your colleagues and your executives, and we'll go into that a little bit more. Today, we're actually going to be focusing though how to establish yourself as a thought leader. So last week we talked more, or last month we talked more about the why it's important and why it's useful, and we're going to go into a little more of the how to do it. And then next month we're going to dive in a little bit more into the content creation side of it to give you some more ideas. Just real fast, uh, did we had homework from last month, and if anybody was able to do some of their homework or to even just do one thing to try to improve their own visibility and getting started in using LinkedIn a little bit more intentionally, I would love it if you'd put it in the comments and let me know one thing you were able to work on, or if you had any challenges that you saw or questions that came up as you were working on these different tasks. If you didn't get to it, don't worry about it. This is just for you to help improve and grow yourself. All right. So, into the topic thought leadership, right? Really, when we think about thought leadership, it sounds very nice, it sounds very sophisticated, but the reality is it's just establishing you as an expert in your field. And for ourselves, though, in today's reality of the digital world, the way that one establishes themselves as a thought leader is through utilizing marketing approaches, right? Through social media and other channels to increase the visibility of your voice. And that is one of the keys. This is actually a definition I got out of Western Governors. Thought leadership came up, and I thought that was really, really appropriate because, in short, thought leadership is marketing yourself. I know nobody really likes to talk about it when it's uncomfortable, right? We always go through this when we're job hunting, we're having to go through interviews, right? The reality is we're marketing ourselves, and that's not easy. It's not comfortable to talk about ourselves, right? Unless you're a narcissist. And you can say, but wait a minute, I yell it, is anybody can be a thought leader? Well, I'm saying yes, anyone truly can. Now, whether they choose to wield their platform and their powers of using the media well for good or not, right? Then that's on them, obviously. We have social engineering, and in essence, part of what I'm talking about is, in one very small way, socially engineering our messaging to get to our audience, right? Really, we want to have good communication, and that's what good marketing is all about: is the communication. So, how do we do that? First off, you've got to be consistent. Doing it once, sending it out into the digital void, and then you're getting crickets, like, it's no wonder. The rate at which content is created is mind-boggling. Don't have the stat in front of me, I should have written it down, but, you know, we all know the digital world is just going at a pace that we can't even keep up with. So if you want to have an impact, if you want people to hear your voice, you are going to have to show up more than once. You're going to have to do it again and again and go through different channels, right? And then as you're in those channels, you're going to be sharing your expertise and your lessons learned. And that little by little will be building and creating you as a thought leader. Now, maybe you won't be the Brian Krebs of the cyber world, but you will have influence on the people around you. In my last position in Cyfluencer, which is a a platform for security awareness. No, sorry, it's a platform for influencer marketing specific to cyber. One of the things that we saw was the really impactful individuals on the platform that got really great engagement versus their posts and how much they posted were those who fell with not those with 20,000 or more followers. It was actually between 6 and 10,000 followers. And they were consistently posting, providing valuable information, and they were creating conversations. And they got phenomenal reach and influence. If you and I could have influence on a percentage of that amount of people, that's incredible. So we want to though turn that, our goal here, that would be it will be like a nice side benefit of growing your own visibility and your own professional branding. But our main focus in this series is really focusing it towards our company, right? um, and using LinkedIn to drip that messaging in one more channel where your colleagues and where your executive board and board of directors are hanging out at. And that actually leads me right into the next slide. This is something we talked about in our last session, and I wanted to bring it up again for anyone who's new. Is that you know this is where the decision makers operate. A lot of decision makers, specifically in B2B, they use LinkedIn as one of their resources for getting information and making decisions. One of the stats we brought up last time was it takes 11 touch points for an individual to be engaged with a brand before they actually start interacting with it. So thinking of yourself and your message of security awareness as a brand, you've got to have at least 11 touch points or more, right? With the individuals across your company, right? They're not all reading emails. They're not all seeing Yammer. They're not all, doing the slideshows for whatever reasons. But on LinkedIn, it's one more opportunity to catch them and to put that message of awareness in front of them. And the beauty of it is it's not as threatening, right? It doesn't seem like it's coming, from on high and being dictated down to them, and they have to do this training or they have to do the phishing simulation game or any of that. This is more personal. And so that's an advantage of the platform. Thirdly, we talked about it being, you know, it's changing to being highlighting content creators. So there are tools that LinkedIn is making available to those who turn on the content creator mode, and it's giving them more visibility if you use the platform. You can't turn it on and then just hope it works. You've got to be, you've got to show up. And then, like we said, it's building awareness. The more you post consistently of the awareness messaging that you have that you want to bring forward, it's going to build that awareness, indirectly with your colleagues, even with the executive board and hopefully board members. Make sure you're connected with them. We talked about this last month. Make sure you're connected with them. Make sure you're engaging on their posts, and that will raise the visibility as you post your own content. All right. So, question is, how do we get started? All right. It sounds really simple, right? Just get started. But it's scary. It's a big thing. There's a big block a lot of people have in getting started to create content and put themselves out there. I can speak personally from this. I totally understand. I am typically not someone who posts a lot on social media. I'm more of what you call the lurker. I'll just read. So in my last job, when I was suddenly told that I had to post daily, every day, something on LinkedIn, and I knew it needed to be relevant to my audience. Yes, imposter syndrome set in. I panicked, saying, I don't have anything to say. What do you want me to post about? And it was really, really challenging. But I want to turn that challenge around to you and say, set for yourself a goal 30 days. Say for 30 days, I'm going to post every day. during the work week, take weekends off, but for that month period, you're going to post daily content. You're not going to worry too much about what it is. You're not going to overthink it. You're just going to take the challenge of putting forth content that's interesting, right? Up, you know. So take that challenge and do a 30-day challenge of yourself. And as you do it, at first it's hard, right? Just like starting anything new. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. The more you start seeing things in your everyday going, oh, that would make a good post. Oh, I could do a series off of that. Oh, that's a funny thing I can relate back to MFA or, you know, password protection, or, you'll start seeing these different correlations. Um, and also, you don't have to create brand new content. For us specifically, in talking about using LinkedIn for security awareness, use the content, base it on the content you've already created for your company, right? And just repackage it. Obviously, clean it up a little bit so nothing's like, company secrets are being leaked out, of course. But, repurpose it, repackage it in a different fashion, different format. But you've got the content already, and for a lot of these posts. So just start with what you already have, start with what you know, challenge yourself for at least 30 days to do every day of the work week. And then once you've done that, then find a consistent rhythm that works for you. Is it once a week? If you're really wanting to jumpstart yourself, though, after you've done 30 days, I would encourage you to really aim for doing 2 to 3 times a week minimum. Um, unless you're just really enjoying yourself, then go for daily. So the next question is, after you've, committed to saying, I'm going to do 30 days, and really jump into it. So people want to ask, well, what's the best type of content, right? There's different types, right? There's obviously the text and the text with image. Those we know the best. But then I'm sure you've seen the little slide decks. Those are called carousel posts. To get those, you actually upload them as a PDF if you're not familiar. And those have really good engagement. But then there's also just bite-sized content, right? You don't have to write a whole article. You can write a short paragraph. You can write a thought. You can, take things and break them down into bullet points. So text and text plus image really are a great place to start. And then you can go from there. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to make the most amazing slideshow, or this super cool video. If you're comfortable with video, or even if you're not and you want to try it, like simply make sure you have good lighting. You have the light in front of you. You have something solid behind you. You have an outline of what you want to say, and you're going to keep it to 1 to 2 minutes, right? It needs to be short and concise. LinkedIn now also does automatic subtitles, so you don't even have to have editing software if you don't want. You can literally do from your phone, upload it directly, and you'll have auto-generated subtitles, and which I do recommend you use subtitles because most people watch videos with the sound off. Um, so that is something that you can get started with, and they don't have to be super professional. In fact, people enjoy, even on the professional platforms such as LinkedIn, they want genuine content. So even if it doesn't look polished and, like it's been through an amazing editor, as long as the content is good and it resonates, that is really what is going to attract people. Excuse me. There's one professional on LinkedIn, Steven Semmelroth, and he does walking videos or jogging videos as he's, and he does like a thought in a few minutes. And that's how he does his videos. Obviously it's not for everybody, but find what you're comfortable with at first. And then if you want to challenge yourself, do it. I know I've tried video a few times for myself, and it's not always, I haven't gotten quite a good rhythm for it. It's not easy for me to speak on video. Um, but for me, I find just doing the writings and doing some carousels. Those are the things I enjoy creating. But there's also polls, videos, multi-picture. So all of those are really good content pieces. And it doesn't hurt to every now and then do something that's personal. And I know, people like to say, "Oh, but this isn't Facebook." I'm not saying go as wild and open as Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, but people buy from people. People learn from people. We want that human connection. We want to know that we can relate to you. Good messaging is something that's relatable. And so every now and then, doing a selfie and talking a little bit about something in your day actually will get great engagement. And it will just help build a more familiarity with you, which is especially your goal as a security awareness professional, is creating that two-way communication. You want to be the address people come to. So I highly recommend doing at least like maybe once a month, or even once every other month or something, whatever you're comfortable with, but putting your face out there sometimes. I know it's not comfortable, but it does make a difference. Um, so the ones with the asterisks actually get right now, the algorithm's always changing and keeping us on our toes. But at this moment, the ones with asterisks have a little bit better visibility. So if you're able to do one of those in combination with your regular text posts, then you might see a little bit more movement as you start creating momentum. All right. So what to avoid? All right. One thing we want to avoid is sharing other people's posts. I would say in general, you don't want that to be your main method of sharing content for two reasons. One reason is because they are not going to see um, your own thoughts, right? This is, I think, the most important reason is we want to know your feedback, your information, your insights, your professional view of a topic. Um, and we won't get that if you're just resharing other people's content. Secondly, uh, LinkedIn does not really give much visibility to reshared posts. And you would think it would be higher, but there is a little bit of change on that I've seen in the last half a year. But historically speaking, when you reshare a post, you're going to get almost next to crickets. So if you really want to help someone, maybe they're looking for a job, or you see a really important awareness post that you want to help get visibility, instead of hitting the share button on the post, summarize what that post is about, tag the author, right, or the publication, and put the link in the comment. That will get much broader reach for that content than if you were to hit the share button. So, as much as you can, don't use the sharing. It's not to say I don't ever use it, I do sometimes, but try to use it sparingly. Also, you don't want to be only about yourself or your company. So, so I said keep the selfies to a minimum, but you do want some selfies. You do want that physical um, representation just to make that relationship building right in the digital world. Um, and try not to put a link in all your posts, right? If you're trying to get started with curating content, that is actually one of the ways I made it through my post every day mandate was I at first just curated content. However, you want to be careful not to have it in the post. Um, all the time because again, teams tends to downgrade the visibility. Because if you think about it, right, you're taking them off the LinkedIn platform, and LinkedIn doesn't make as much money if people leave the platform. LinkedIn denies that that's that's what happens, but it's pretty consistent. I've done it even in the last several months, and I've just gotten horrible visibility whenever I share a link inside the post. So I recommend most of the time to keep it in the comments. You're welcome to test it yourself, but if you don't see much visibility, then you might want to start putting them in the comments. And please ask questions, and I'm happy to answer them as I'm able to. Okay, this is just an example of what you can do instead of hitting the share button. Um, I took a piece of content that someone wrote. I highlighted a few of the top things that I thought was interesting and restated it. I tagged her and I put a link to the main article in the comments. So that's just kind of an example of that. All right. So let's talk a little more about when you're writing your post. right? Because writing a great post and building thought leadership, there are a few rules that you do need to keep in mind. You don't have to always do it as a formula. In fact, there are a few people who do some formulaic um, formats that get really old really fast. Um, I don't recommend them, but there are some formatting you need to keep in mind because people are on social media. They are scrolling most likely on their phone, at least half. LinkedIn's a little bit unique that you do have about half desktop and half mobile, more than the other apps. So think of what happens though when you're on your small screen and you come to a block of text. Unless you're really into the reading mode right then, you're going to jump through it and you're just going to scroll past it because it's overwhelming to us. So when you're composing your posts, you need to keep in mind that you need to provide um, space, right? You want to use white space. So you want to have a line, hit enter, do another line, maybe 2 or 3 sentences in a paragraph max, because again, on mobile, that's going to be really bunched up. I know it goes against our formal education and how you create a paragraph. One of my girlfriends, whose mother was a journalist and who's a very good writer herself, she always got onto me and just always groaned when I would go through and reformat her paragraphs because they needed to be better for mobile, right? And for the digital. So use white space. It's your friend. I'm using white space even in the slides that you see, because if I were to keep them all bunched together, it's a lot harder to read, and people tend to kind of back off of really, paying attention to what's being said. So the white space is your friend. What I would avoid is where people do like three spaces in between each line. That just gets annoying in my personal opinion. And I don't know that it really benefits anybody. But at least one space between to break up paragraphs, and really try to limit 1 or 2 sentences uh, for each paragraph when you write. I completely missed the first the first entry, and that's the hook, right? So you need a good hook because, as you know, everything is going to be condensed, and you want people to click more. That's like the first sign to the LinkedIn algorithm that people are interested in your content, that they clicked see more. So you've got to do that, and the way to do that is to use different types of hooks, whether it's a question, or they're putting a challenging statement, right? You can play with the FOMO and with all those things that we tell our employees to be careful of. You can actually play with it and have fun a little bit with LinkedIn. Um, in using those strategies to try to help people to click on the see more and open up your post. But once they open it, you want to make sure you've brought them and given them good content and given them a reason, and like it's like a reward, right? It's kind of that adrenaline rush. We're using all these tactics that sometimes we say it's bad with social media, but we also have to use it for good. And so that's what we're trying to do because it works. But again, we want to make sure when they've clicked that we're actually giving them something that's of value, right? Unlike the hackers and the like unethical marketers, right? We're trying to do something and make a difference. So that's why we're using some of these techniques. And lastly, use hashtags, right? A good post needs to have hashtags. Why? Because first off, it makes it searchable. You can actually search on hashtags. And also, it helps the reach go further. We talked a little bit more in depth on hashtags in our previous session. Just real fast recap: 3 to 5 is your sweet spot on LinkedIn, and you want to make sure that you're using hashtags that are relevant to the audience. So if you're not your cybersecurity professional buddies, unless your post is written to your buddies, right? Otherwise, you're talking to the regular employee in your company, then it might be what's important to them. What are they following? If your post is on MFA, it might be, online safety, like at home, or it might be home family safety, right? Those hashtags. it all depends on the context, but try to think about your audience. What is the topic you're talking about? Maybe it's small business in general. So small business would be a good hashtag, right? Small business owner. So try to avoid the jargon and the lingo that we like to use in cybersecurity, unless you're targeting in your post the cybersecurity professionals. So something to think about, and you can revisit that in our last session. Okay, going a little bit more into what a good post should contain, you want to include a call to action. Why? Because you want to keep them thinking about the topic that you've presented to them, right? It could be that you just ask them a question at the end. It could be that you give them a challenge, go turn on MFA by using this guide, or it can be also something as simple as getting them to follow you, right? Because just because they're in your company doesn't mean that they're automatically following or connected to you. So, putting a simple ask, right, or call to action like follow me, like you can see in the example in the image, it makes a difference. It makes people go, oh, I did like that content. I do want to see more of it, right? And LinkedIn now has this feature with the bell, and it allows you to see more of the people content that you want to follow. So encouraging your colleagues, right, to follow you on LinkedIn, that will help ensure that your posts will be seen more often in their feed. And we already talked a little bit about the link, why you should use it sparingly in the post. Um, and then don't forget to tag people. Some people I know it seems obvious but people don't always think about it. So tag people when it's relevant. Please avoid mass tagging. It's not nice. It's not beneficial. And it just looks kind of spammy. And as security awareness professionals, we don't like spammy. But use it appropriately. So I just want to touch, this is just a throwback to our last session. Why creator mode is a good thing to turn on is because it will help you to grow your followers and your reach, but it has to be on, and you have to be um, consistent at least 2 or 3 times a week, right? To be really get value out of that feature and get that visibility boost that you're looking for. Um, Creator mode also allows you the opportunity to use other modes, right? So, like, I'm able to have this LinkedIn Live because I have creator mode on. So that's something you can consider doing yourself as a professional, right? And providing new ways to use the platform for your company. You could even think of it in fun ways of doing interviews, right, with different members, maybe of the security awareness team, and introducing people to your security, not to your security team, right? Again, creating that familiarity with the security team, opening up that conversation. There's a lot of different ways that you can use this. So having that creator mode gives you access to those tools. Now, I alluded to it a little bit earlier when you're posting and writing your posts. Some people make the mistake of we have so much to say. There's so many things that you can talk about, in security awareness, but we really have to get it down to that Twitter post, right? Of getting it down to the essence. It's something short, it's bite sized, it's something they can take away. Because giving too much information at once, it's not going to stick. But if we can choose one or two, and we know the audience we're speaking to, right? So I think a lot of you, we already know this in security awareness. We have to tailor it to the department we're speaking to and the threats that are relevant to them. So when you're writing, think about, who am I talking to today? Who is this post being aimed at today? Right? And then focus on that one. And you can focus another post on another day to a different audience. And that will help you keep your messaging a lot clearer and a lot cleaner. All right. And just as a reminder of who are some of our audience targets, these just to keep in the back of your mind. Maybe you're talking directly to your executive team. Maybe you're talking to your coworkers. or you're keeping it more community oriented. But it will help you really just clarify if you can think about and keep in mind who the categories of audiences that you're speaking to, that will really help your post as well. All right. And lastly, you don't have to recreate the wheel. You can get ideas from other personalities who are already doing a great job. And what I like about looking at other people is I see different styles. And that really helped me personally to be able to pinpoint and kind of find what worked for me. Um, so I have a list for you here. And I'll also include this slide deck when we send out the recap. And so that you can have access to this and it has the links, or you can just take the names and look them up. These are some really great professionals just in the cyber world at large. Um, and I really recommend you checking them out and seeing which style kind of resonates with you and getting ideas for how they're putting forth content to help you in your own content creation journey. Um, and then start kind of finding your own rhythm. Okay, so that really kind of wraps it up. We are at our homework slide. So for this next period, I would love to challenge you to work on posting 2 to 3 times a week this week. Well, actually, we're already in the end of the week. So next week, work on 2 to 3 times, unless you want to squeeze it in. Um, you know, look at two different formats that maybe you're not doing, or maybe you're already doing it naturally, and that's great. But if you aren't, try to see where you can kind of tweak and improve your post a little bit so that it's easier for people to read and consume, so that your message doesn't get lost and they don't just scroll on. And then, when you're posting, um, try to find out, play with the different types and the different styles. One thing is also to engage with your audience. Now, I didn't go into this very in depth, but part of actually raising your own visibility of your own post is either right before or right after you post that you are also going and interacting with other people on the platform, because part of the algorithm favors engagement. They want to build that community. They want to see those relationships. That is one of the things I love about LinkedIn is it really does prioritize, and it's really working on fostering that sense of the give and take. So it's not all about us just preaching, preaching, preaching. It's actually also about us just engaging others. And in my last session, we also went into a technique about how you can do that streamlined so that it doesn't take you don't get stuck in the scroll of the LinkedIn feed, but you can actually just go very quickly to your bookmarks bar. You've got your top profiles to engage with, and then you can move on from your day. But that will help you doing the engagement before and after you post will help also with the visibility and the reach. And again, the people that we talked about, targeting for our regular engagement are the managers, the executives, decision makers, the colleagues, just within the community. It could be people on your ambassador team, because the more that you engage with them, the more they will see your content in the feed, and will just again kind of elevate that visibility for you. Um, and then I would encourage you to follow three of those thought leaders, or find your own. That's just really to help you get started, and to engage with them as well, just to kind of get you more in that path and habit of engaging and posting, and really kind of starting to help you look at LinkedIn a little bit differently when you're creating the content. And that really wraps us up for this session. If you have questions, please feel free to DM me, reach out to me. I'm happy to help people send feedback on a post, even if you're like, hey, I put this post up. What do you think? Happy to engage. I love doing, providing feedback and brainstorming with you. So please feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, I help manage the community for the security awareness managers, the SAM community. We have weekly virtual meetups. We also do live streams such as this one. And we do also have a whole resource for security awareness content that are free for you to use. And you can go and check that out on our website in the Managers Hub. And you can also sign up to get updates. Um, so reach out to me if you did not register for the series. Um, you can DM me and I'll send you the link, or also include it in the comments here if you can find it. Sometimes they're a little iffy here on the LinkedIn Lives. Um, but I'll send you the link to register, and we will send out the recordings along with the slide deck as well. And hopefully, I'll see you next month for our final session in this 3-part series. Thanks again for joining, and I look forward to seeing your posts.